The millionaire's son was always sick, until the poor Nanny found what was hidden in his pillow. The ocean wind brushed against Elena Vargas's face as she stood before the towering iron gates of the Hale estate. The mansion rose proudly along the California coastline, stunning, impressive, almost unreal, yet wrapped in a coldness that made her shiver. A house this large, if a child truly lived here, should echo with laughter, footsteps, the clatter of toys. But here there was only silence, thick and heavy like fog, pressing against her chest. "Elena Vargas," a deep, stern voice called as the door opened. She nodded. "Yes, that's me." Standing before her was Mr. Rowan, the family's house manager of over 15 years. Tall, straight-backed, silver hair combed neatly, eyes sharp but not unkind. One look at him told Elena he was the type who operated on discipline and structure. "Come in," he said, gesturing her forward. "Before you meet the young master, I must review a few rules." The grand foyer swallowed her footsteps, the echo bouncing off marble floors and high ceilings. For a house this luxurious, it felt strangely empty, too still, too lifeless. "Young Lucas Hale is very ill," Mr. Rowan continued, voice steady as if reciting a memorized protocol. "He is not to go outside. He must not exert himself. He is not to meet anyone outside the family, and his medications must be given on time, precisely on time." Elena tightened her grip on her bag. "What exactly is his condition?" Mr. Rowan shook his head. "You don't need the specifics. Dr. Malley oversees everything. Your task is simply to follow instructions." A response like that only deepened the unease rising inside her. Years of working with children had taught her one thing. When adults avoid giving medical details, something is very wrong. She opened the thick folder he had handed her, heavy, chaotic, unsettling. Pages upon pages of medications, each from completely different treatment categories. "Why so many?" she murmured. Mr. Rowan paused and looked back at her. "The boy is fragile. We expect your full cooperation. We can't afford another incident." Another incident? Those two words struck her like a blade, pulling forward memories she never fully healed from. Her little cousin lying in a hospital bed, gasping for breath, a careless medical choice stealing his life forever. From that day on, Elena had vowed she would never let a child suffer because adults failed them. She raised her head, eyes steady. "I understand. I'll do my best. Lucas is on the 3rd floor. You may begin now." Elena drew in a slow breath. Something dark lingered in this house, a secret crouched in the corners of its silence. And she knew. In just a moment, everything in her life was about to change. The staircase leading to the 3rd floor felt impossibly long, as though Elena were climbing into a different world, isolated, silent, sealed away from sunlight. The dim amber lights along the hallway barely illuminated the stark white walls. No framed pictures, no drawings, no trace that a child lived here. Only her heartbeat and the distant echo of waves outside filled the emptiness. The last door at the end of the corridor appeared before her. Faded superhero stickers clung to it, like someone once tried to brighten the life of a child, but had given up long ago. Elena inhaled slowly and knocked. "Lucas, I'm Elena. I'm here to take care of you." Silence answered her. A silence so deep she had to place her hand on the doorknob and gently turn it. The room was enormous, making the small 5-year-old on the bed appear even tinier. The large window spilled pale light over the scene. A boy, dwarfed by blankets, surrounded by towers of white pillows like protective walls. Lucas Hale opened his eyes, big, ocean blue, breathtaking, yet dimmed by an exhaustion far too old for a child. "Hi there," Elena whispered. "I'm Elena." He pressed his lips together, studying her carefully, then asked a question so soft yet devastating it felt like a blow to her chest. "Are you Going to leave me too? Elena froze. Why would I leave you? Because everyone leaves. They say being near me is dangerous. Dangerous? A 5-year-old? She sat at the edge of the bed, choosing her tone carefully. You're not dangerous, Lucas. No one gets sick because of you. Lucas lowered his gaze. But Dr. Malley says I'm very sick. Papa says it too. Everyone's scared. Elena surveyed the room, an entire table overflowing with medicine bottles, too many for any child to ever need. Her stomach tightened. She asked softly, Do you ever go outside to play? Lucas shook his head, quick and decisive. No, I'll get tired and die. That's what the doctor said. A simple sentence, but soaked with fear deeper than any child should carry. Elena felt something twist painfully inside her, not because Lucas looked fragile, but because an invisible darkness was suffocating him. She placed her hand gently over his. Lucas, I'm not going anywhere, and I won't let you disappear. I'm here to help you. Really? After a long moment, he whispered, You promise? Elena smiled, soft, steady, unshakable. I promise. And in that small, trembling glance he gave her, she saw it, a spark of hope fighting to stay alive. Lucas's tiny question, You promise? Still echoed in Elena's mind as she stayed beside his bed a little longer. His small hand rested in hers, holding on with the kind of fragile trust that made her chest tighten. She didn't want to leave right away. She needed him to feel that she truly meant her promise. And when his eyes flickered at the sight of her still sitting there, something delicate but real settled between them. Would you like to hear a story? Elena asked softly. Lucas raised his head, a shy spark of excitement lighting in his eyes. Yes, but only if you read it. You read better than the other ladies. Elena chuckled. I haven't read anything yet. I know, your voice, it's not scared of me. The words hit her harder than she expected. She grabbed a book from the shelf, a book that looked untouched for far too long, and began to read. Her warm voice filled the room, breaking the silence that had been Lucas's only companion. Lucas watched her the whole time, as if each word she spoke was a little miracle. Midway through the story, the front door downstairs slammed shut. Heavy, hurried footsteps echoed through the house. Rowan called quietly from below. Mr. Hale is home. Lucas tensed immediately. Papa gets mad if I'm not resting. Just breathe, Elena whispered, offering a reassuring smile. The bedroom door opened, and Ethan Hale entered, a 40-year-old man with exhausted eyes, his suit wrinkled from another too long day. He paused when he saw Elena sitting beside Lucas, surprise flickering before shifting into awkward restraint. You shouldn't be sitting up too much, Ethan said gently. Lucas asked in a voice so small it barely carried, Papa, can you eat dinner with me tonight? Ethan looked away. I have work. Your medication bill went up again. Elena watched him. This man drowning in guilt, he never spoke aloud. She saw it clearly. His fear wasn't of Lucas, but of failing him the way he believed he failed before. After Ethan left, Elena turned to the table of medications. She lifted each bottle, reading labels, dosages, categories. A cold shiver slid down her spine. None of these medications matched each other. Heart drugs, anti-inflammatories, immune suppressants, sedatives. A cocktail with no logic. A cocktail that could harm. Lucas, Elena asked quietly, why did the other ladies wear masks? Because I make people sick. No, Lucas, your illness isn't contagious. His eyes widened, lips trembling. Really? Really? You don't make anyone sick. Lucas lowered his head, and his voice broke into a whisper. No one ever said that before. And in that moment, Elena understood. The fatigue, the weakness, the drowsiness, none of it matched any real disease. They matched the medicine, and someone had made Lucas believe he deserved every bit of it. That afternoon, while Elena was guiding Lucas through a light stretch, a simple movement to help him breathe more comfortably, the bedroom door swung open with a force that made both of them jump. The sound hit the wall like a warning shot. Lucas shrank instantly, and Elena turned toward the intruder. Standing in the doorway was Dr. Vincent Malley, his white coat spotless, his expression carved from stone. The moment he saw Lucas sitting upright with Elena supporting him, his eyebrows pulled together in a deep, disapproving crease. "What exactly do you think you're doing?" His voice sliced through the air. Elena straightened. "Just helping Lucas with a gentle exercise. Exercise?" Malley snapped, striding forward like a storm. This boy should not be sitting up this long. He should not be exerting himself. He should not be straining in any way. He bent down so his face was level with Lucas's, speaking slowly, deliberately, feeding fear into the child. "You know you're very weak, don't you?" Lucas nodded immediately, curling into himself as if trying to disappear beneath the blanket. Elena stepped forward, her tone careful. "I've reviewed his file. I haven't seen any specific indication that—" "You're questioning me?" Malley whipped around, his gaze sharp enough to puncture. "I've been this child's physician for 4 years. You've been here less than 48 hours. "I'm only trying to understand his condition better," she answered, keeping her breath steady. "There is nothing for you to understand." He waved a dismissive hand, as though brushing away a nuisance. "Your job is to follow orders, not to ask questions, not to change the care routine." His tone wasn't that of a doctor speaking to another professional. It was a superior scolding an underling. The disrespect rang loud and clear. "But if Lucas is capable of—" "When I say he can't, he can't." Malley turned back to the boy, his voice suddenly gentle in a way that felt deeply manipulative. "You must listen, Lucas. If you push yourself, you'll hurt, and your papa will be very sad. You don't want to make him sad, do you?" Lucas trembled, eyes glistening, shaking his head. Elena felt her chest tighten. Malley wasn't guiding Lucas. He was controlling him, using fear like a leash. And Lucas was so used to it, he didn't even question it anymore. She looked directly at Malley and understood with full clarity. This was a man who didn't want to explain anything. He wanted absolute obedience, and anyone who asked questions instantly became his enemy. The weight of Dr. Malley's presence lingered in the room long after he left, thick and suffocating like a storm cloud that refused to disperse. Elena stayed beside Lucas until she felt his trembling ease a little, though his wide ocean-blue eyes still carried the fear Malley had planted in him. She brushed a hand gently over his shoulder. "It's okay. He's gone." Lucas nodded, but the anxiety remained etched into his small features. Over the next few days, Elena noticed a pattern that sent a prickle of concern down her spine. No matter how much or how little medication Lucas took at night, he always woke up exhausted, far more than any sick child reasonably should. Every morning, his eyelids drooped heavily, and his head seemed pulled toward the pillow by an invisible weight. One late night, Elena watched as Lucas drifted off to sleep. Only minutes later, his breathing deepened unnaturally, his face relaxing too quickly, too completely. This wasn't the natural fatigue of illness. This was something else, something external. She reached for one of his many white pillows. The moment she pressed her nose close, a faint chemical scent hit her, sharp enough to make her pull back. A smell easy for most to ignore, but not for someone trained in chemistry and rehabilitation like her. The next morning, while Lucas quietly ate breakfast, Elena made her decision. "Mr. Rowan," she said as he passed by, "I need to wash Lucas's pillows." He tensed immediately. "That won't be necessary. Those pillows are specialized. They shouldn't be washed." Elena kept her tone even. Everything needs cleaning eventually. I'll be careful." "No," his voice sharpened. "Dr. Malley left strict instructions, which is exactly why I want them cleaned." Elena cut in gently. "Lucas breathes from those pillows all night. If they're not sanitary, that's far more dangerous." The slight hesitation, barely a second, told her everything. Rowan turned away quickly, muttering something under his breath. Elena carried the pillows to the laundry room. As she removed the first pillowcase, her fingers froze. Something was sewn inside the lining, a tiny nylon pouch filled with fine white powder, and emitting a chemical odor unmistakable to her trained senses. She carefully tore open the pouch, touched a bit of the powder, and her breath caught. She knew this substance, an inhaled sedative, potent enough to induce nightly drowsiness, weakness, slowed reflexes. Her stomach twisted. Lucas wasn't sick at all. He was being sedated every single night. Shock, rage, disbelief, grief, every emotion crashed through her at once. That afternoon, when Dr. Malley arrived and noticed the pillows missing, his composure cracked instantly. "Where are Lucas's pillows?" he demanded. "I took them to be washed," Elena replied evenly. "You can't wash them. Bring them back. Now! They're specialized equipment." His panic was so transparent it only confirmed what she already knew. "I've already set up regular pillows for him tonight," Elena said calmly, then walked away before he could snap back. That night, Lucas slept without the sedative pillows. And by morning, the transformation was undeniable. "Elena!" Lucas's voice chimed bright and clear, full of life in a way she had never heard before. He sat up on his own, hair tousled, face glowing. "I'm not sleepy. Look, I woke up fast." Elena's breath caught. "How do you feel?" "Good, really good. I want to run." Lucas giggled, kicking his legs over the side of the bed. In that instant, the truth settled in her bones, cold and furious. There was never anything wrong with this child. He wasn't sick. He was being poisoned night after night by the very people meant to care for him. And Elena knew this was only the beginning. Lucas's sudden burst of energy felt like sunlight finally breaking into a house, long buried in shadows, but the warmth hadn't even spread before the front door slammed below. Elena barely had time to register Lucas's bright grin when she heard hurried footsteps racing up the stairs. She knew this moment was inevitable. Ethan appeared in the doorway, his expression shifting from shock to alarm far too quickly. "Lucas, why are you this energetic?" Lucas beamed. "Papa, I feel good. I want to run." Ethan's face drained of color. To him, this wasn't a sign of recovery. It was the most dangerous symptom of all. For 4 years, Malley had trained him to believe that excitement meant disaster. No, this is bad," Ethan murmured, stepping back. "This is exactly what he warned me about. I have to call Dr. Malley." "He's wrong," Elena said urgently, stepping forward. "Lucas isn't sick. This is how a healthy child behaves." But Ethan was already dialing, his hand trembling, not from anger, but from a fear deeply rooted in him. Less than 10 minutes later, Malley strode in as if he'd been waiting nearby. His eyes flicked to Lucas, who was happily bouncing on his toes, then shifted to Ethan with calculated calm. "I warned you," Malley said, his tone heavy, ominous. "This is the pre-seizure phase. If we don't act now, he could have a full episode tonight." Elena moved instantly, placing herself between Lucas and the doctor. "No, the boy is completely fine. His alertness today proves—" "Step aside," Malley snapped, pulling a syringe from his coat. "This is the only way to prevent a seizure." "Elena, let him do it," Ethan said, the tension in his voice palpable. "I can't risk Lucas's life." "He's not in danger," Elena turned to Ethan, almost pleading. "You're reacting to fear, not facts. Just look at him. Lucas is healthy. But Mally was already advancing, his grip tight around the syringe. I won't debate with someone who lacks medical expertise. You're the one making this child sick, Elena shot back, anger threading through her voice. Something dark flashed in Mally's eyes, but he didn't slow. With practiced ease, he pushed past her and seized Lucas's small arm. It's only a mild dose, you'll sleep, and the seizure won't happen. Lucas let out a frightened cry, trying to pull away. Elena! Elena lunged forward, but Ethan grabbed her for a single second too long, and the needle pierced Lucas's skin. The boy's body sagged almost immediately, his bright eyes dulling into a heavy, drugged haze. His limbs softened, breath slowing unnaturally fast. Elena watched, feeling something inside her tear apart. Her hands trembled, from fury, from grief, from helplessness. But beneath the chaos, something crystallized into certainty. This would not happen again. No more needles, no more lies, no more poison. She would uncover the truth, even if she had to fight the entire world. The forced injection replayed in Elena's mind like a slow-motion nightmare, every frame sharper than the one before. The way Lucas trembled when the needle appeared, the way his bright eyes dimmed as the sedative flooded his body, the way he collapsed into her arms as though every spark of life had been snuffed out. It carved itself into her memory with painful precision. Even after he drifted into a drugged, uneasy sleep, Elena sat beside him, counting each fragile breath. Anger coiled inside her, heavy and burning, but beneath it was something stronger, a resolve hardening into steel. She would find the truth, no matter what she had to dig through to reach it. When Rowan and Mally finally disappeared from sight, Elena moved toward the filing cabinet they had always spoken of with such gravity, the supposed vault of Lucas's medical history. She expected thick folders, official reports, test results. Instead, the cabinet opened into emptiness. A few wrinkled sheets with Mally's sloppy handwriting, no signatures from other doctors, no hospital stamps, no lab results. A child gravely ill for 4 years, with not a single medical test to prove it. Elena stood frozen, the silence around her suddenly deafening. Doubt no longer whispered. It screamed. The next day, while Lucas remained groggy from Mally's injection, Elena followed the doctor down the hall. She slowed her steps when she heard voices from Ethan's office. Mally's calm, authoritative tone floated out, every syllable dripping with manufactured urgency. We can't delay, Ethan. The advanced tests must be done immediately. If not, your son may only have months. Ethan's chair creaked. How much? At least $150,000, Mally replied, as though reading from a script. 200 if we want fast results. I have contacts in a Swiss laboratory, completely confidential. Elena's pulse thudded painfully. This wasn't medicine. This was extortion. You don't want Lucas to die, do you? Mally added quietly, the kind of quiet meant to corner a terrified parent. Ethan didn't respond. His silence was heartbreaking. Elena backed away, her decision already forming. She needed someone trustworthy, someone who cared about medicine, not money. Only one name filled her mind: Dr. Samuel Ortega. That afternoon, Elena drove to the medical center where Ortega practiced. The sun dipped low, scattering amber light across her windshield, but nothing could calm the storm inside her. When Ortega entered the consultation room and recognized her, his gentle smile vanished as soon as he saw the panic in her eyes. "What's wrong?" he asked. Elena placed a small nylon pouch on the table, followed by Lucas's medication list. "Please look at this. It's urgent." Ortega slipped on gloves, opened the pouch, touched the powder, and stiffened. Lorazepam, powdered. This is inhaled. Who would give this to a child? Elena explained everything: the pillows, the morning exhaustion, the incoherent medications, the manipulation, the forced injection. Ortega skimmed the medication list, and his expression darkened. This combination, this could cause respiratory failure. If Lucas truly had a heart condition, he wouldn't have survived this long. And if he's healthy, he shook his head. This is dangerous, bordering on criminal. So, he isn't sick? Elena asked softly. Nothing here suggests heart disease, immune disorders, or any severe condition, Ortega said firmly. But we need to test him immediately. If we don't stop these drugs soon, he could collapse. Elena felt a chill run through her. Can I bring Lucas here? Absolutely, Ortega nodded. I'll run every test, free of charge, and discreetly. That man, he didn't need to say Mally's name, must not know. As Elena left the clinic, her hands were still trembling, not from fear, but from hope. The sunset stretched ahead like a path she was finally ready to walk. She had proof. She had an ally. And Lucas finally had a chance to escape the nightmare he never realized he was living in. When Elena returned to the Hale estate, the sky had shifted into a deep violet. The dim light pouring through the tall windows made the enormous house feel even colder. Ethan stood in the living room, shoulders hunched, looking like a man lost inside his own fear. Elena knew this conversation would be the most important one since she arrived. She had to make him see what he had been blind to for 4 long years. "Ethan," she called softly. He turned, his eyes red-nerved and exhausted. "We need to talk about Lucas." He didn't respond, but the tension rolling off him was palpable. She approached carefully. "I want to ask you to let Lucas be evaluated by another doctor. A second opinion." His fists tightened. "Why?" Mally said. "Delaying could kill him." "I can't lose him," Ethan whispered, voice cracking. "I already lost my wife because of complications during his birth. If I lose Lucas because I hesitated..." He couldn't finish. The guilt strangled his words. Elena finally understood. Ethan didn't believe Mally because he was naive. He believed him because he punished himself every day. She spoke gently. "Ethan, because you love Lucas, you must know the truth. If he's truly sick, another doctor will confirm it. But if he's not, then the treatment is hurting him, not helping." Ethan bowed his head, shoulders trembling. "I'm scared." "I know," Elena whispered, "and that's why I'll go with both of you. The truth will save Lucas, not kill him." The silence stretched, heavy and uncertain. Then Ethan finally lifted his head, and in his tired eyes was the faintest flicker of resolve. "All right," he said quietly. "One visit, 1 second opinion." The next morning, Lucas left the estate for the first time in years. When sunlight hit his skin, he blinked, then laughed, a clear, ringing sound that knotted something in Elena's chest. "Elena, the sky is huge." He tugged Ethan's hand. "Papa, where are we going?" "To a good doctor," Ethan said, trying to sound steady, though his fingers trembled. At the medical center, Dr. Ortega welcomed them with a warmth that steadied Elena's nerves. He examined Lucas thoroughly: heart and lungs, reflexes, blood samples, X-rays, toxicology panels. Lucas cooperated sweetly, pausing only to glance at Elena for reassurance. When Ortega returned with the results, his expression alone made Ethan stand up, knees unsteady. "Lucas's heart is completely normal," Ortega began. "His immune system is strong, no signs of chronic illness, nothing that remotely matches what you were told." Ethan froze, as though his entire chest caved in. "No, that's impossible." Ortega's voice softened, but grew heavier. "But his blood contains 5 potent medications, and more importantly, a very high concentration of lorazepam. Your son isn't sick, Ethan. Your son has been poisoned." Ethan collapsed into the chair, burying his face in his hands. Tears slipped between his fingers, not from shock, but from guilt sharpened into agony. I let him suffer for 4 years because I trusted the wrong man. Elena sat beside him. This isn't your fault. Anyone who loves their child would have believed what you were told. Ethan lifted his head, eyes full of anguish. What do I do now? Save him, Elena said firmly. Starting today, we do everything right, and we stop the man who did this. A fierce, new determination ignited in Ethan's eyes. And Elena knew the real battle had finally begun. When Ethan, Elena, and Lucas returned to the Hale estate, the sky had darkened, as though even the weather sensed a storm was about to break. Ethan walked in no longer trembling, no longer fragile under fear, but fueled by a steady, burning resolve. He looked around the cavernous living room where he had spent 4 years believing a cruel lie, and his voice came out firm and final. From this moment on, Lucas will not take another pill, not one. Elena stood beside him, silent but unshakably supportive. He walked upstairs, opened the closet, and pulled out every white pillow, the very ones that had drained his son's strength night after night. His hands trembled, but he did not hesitate. He carried them to the backyard, threw them in a pile, and lit the match himself. The flames rose high, consuming years of fear, lies, and silent suffering. Lucas clung to Elena's leg while watching, and she whispered, "You'll never breathe that stuff again." For a brief moment, peace hovered. Then the sound of an engine shattered it. Mally arrived. He stormed into the house, coat swaying behind him like a shadow refusing to detach. The moment he saw Lucas, laughing, running, glowing with life, his face drained of color. This isn't normal," he stuttered. He could seize any second. "Ethan, you must listen to me. We have to—" "Stop talking." Ethan's voice sliced through him. He threw a stack of medical results at Mally. Lucas was examined by Dr. Ortega, a real doctor, and he said Lucas is perfectly healthy. Mally's jaw tightened. He searched for words, for control, for whatever mask he had once worn. "Ortega doesn't understand the boy's unique case. Elena has manipulated—" "Leave her out of your crime," Ethan growled, stepping closer. "My son has 5 strong medications in his bloodstream and an enormous amount of lorazepam. Explain that." For a moment, Mally's eyes flickered with something ugly, panic, guilt, desperation. Then he ran. He spun toward the back door, scrambling like a cornered predator. But before he reached the exit, a tall figure stepped into view. Rowan. He stood firm, face carved with fury he had hidden for 15 years. "You're not going anywhere!" Mally tried to shove past him, but Rowan didn't move an inch. Moments later, police officers burst into the house. "Vincent Mally," one of them announced, "you are under arrest for poisoning a child, fraud, extortion, and practicing medicine without a license." Mally screamed denials, pointed at Elena, invented lies, but none of it mattered anymore. The truth had already swallowed him whole. That evening, headlines exploded across every news outlet. Fake doctor poisoned wealthy children for profit. More victims surfaced, other families, other children, the same fabricated illnesses, the same drugs, the same fear tactic. Investigators uncovered millions spent on luxury cars, watches, real estate, and lavish parties. But the Hale family didn't care about the money. They only cared about the boy running freely in the living room, laughter echoing off the high walls, his small feet striking the floor with the certainty of a child finally liberated. For the first time in years, Lucas was truly alive. The day of the trial, the Los Angeles County Courthouse was packed with reporters, families, and spectators. The air was so heavy that even a quiet breath felt like it could crack the tension. Ethan stepped onto the witness stand, looking exhausted, yet resolute, a father who had walked through hell and somehow returned. He glanced at Lucas sitting behind him, the little boy's bright eyes following his every move, and Ethan had to inhale slowly, just to keep his voice steady. "My son," Ethan began, voice trembling, "lost 4 years of his childhood to a lie. A child who should have been running, laughing, discovering the world, was kept in a room, on a bed, taking pills every day. Not because he was sick, but because I trusted the wrong man." The courtroom fell silent. Several reporters leaned forward, writing furiously. "For 4 years," Ethan continued, blinking rapidly, "I watched my boy grow weaker and believed that was what kept him alive. For 4 years, I allowed a man in a white coat to turn my fear into a weapon. Today, I'm here, to reclaim justice for my son, and for every child he hurt." When he stepped down, Lucas reached out his tiny hand, and Ethan took it. The brief touch silenced the entire room. The prosecutor rose, voice sharp as a blade. "Vincent Malley didn't just violate medical ethics, he betrayed trust. He turned medicine into poison, care into torture, and parental fear into profit. This man is no doctor. He is a manipulator and a danger to children." The defense attorney stood, trying to sound composed. "My client may have made mistakes, but he genuinely believed he was saving these children." "Objection," the prosecutor cut in. "If that was saving, then why did he receive millions from 4 separate families? And why did every child have identical diagnoses and identical drug regimens?" The judge nodded. "Objection sustained." A long silence followed, heavy, final. Then the judge delivered the verdict, voice unwavering. "Vincent Malley is sentenced to 20 years in state prison for child endangerment, fraud, and practicing medicine without a license." A wave of relief washed over the courtroom. Ethan squeezed Lucas's hand, and Elena exhaled as though she had been holding her breath for months. The weeks that followed felt like witnessing a miracle unfold. Without the drugs, Lucas seemed to transform, or perhaps he simply returned to who he had always been meant to be. He raced through the garden, jumped into the grass, swam in the pool like a little fish, and climbed trees so quickly that Elena had to trail behind him like a guardian shadow. He started school. On his first week, Lucas ran to Ethan shouting, "Papa, I made 3 friends, and I played soccer." Ethan laughed, brighter than he had in years. He had cut back his work hours to drive Lucas to school, pick him up, and be present for every moment he once lost. And every smile Lucas gave was a quiet kind of healing, not only for him, but for the father learning how to forgive himself. Summer drifted by softly, and the Hale estate had changed so much that Elena sometimes paused in the hallways just to take it in. Laughter now echoed where silence once lived. Lucas sprinted across the lawn every afternoon with boundless energy. And Ethan began appearing in the kitchen more often, where Elena usually prepared dinner for the 2 of them. He would lean against the counter and watch her chop vegetables or stir a pot of soup, as though every small movement she made helped him remember how to breathe. One late evening, after Lucas had fallen asleep and only the warm golden lights remained, Ethan walked toward her, his voice low and sincere. "Elena, thank you for saving my son, but more than that, you saved me." Elena froze, her heartbeat stumbling. "Ethan, don't say that. I only did what anyone should have done." He shook his head. "No, you did what no one else dared to do. You faced the truth when I couldn't. You protected Lucas, even when I didn't know how." Elena looked down, fingers trembling slightly. "Ethan, you're a good father. She stopped, something tightening in her throat. "I just don't belong in your world. I'm just an ordinary person. People will say I'm using you, that I'm after your money." Ethan stepped closer, the space between them shrinking to almost nothing. "Elena, I love you. Not because you cared for Lucas, not because you saved us. I love you for who you are. Your bravery, your kindness, your stubborn strength, and the way you look at my son like he deserves every ounce of love in the world." Her voice softened until it almost broke. "I love you too, but I'm scared. Scared I'm not enough. Scared of losing what we have." Ethan smiled, a steady, warm smile. He reached into his pocket and opened a small velvet box. "Elena Vargas, will you marry me?" Elena stared, breath catching. "Ethan, what about Lucas?" As if summoned by magic, Lucas peeked from the hallway, eyes sleepy but sparkling. "Elena, if you become my mama, I'll be really happy." Elena laughed through her tears. "Both of you want this?" Lucas nodded hard. Ethan took her hand, and Elena whispered, "Yes, I will." 6 months later, the garden bloomed with white flowers and tiny lights. A small, intimate wedding took place beneath the trees. Lucas carried the rings down the aisle, wobbling adorably and making everyone laugh. Dr. Ortega stood nearby, eyes shining with pride. The house that was once cold now glowed with warmth, laughter, and the kind of love all three had fought to reclaim from the shadows.